Amy Williams was staring out the window, twirling the wedding ring between her fingers. She never imagined that today she would be taking off this ring she had worn every day for 8 years. Memories with Michael flashed through her mind like a whirlwind. The day they first met. The night he proposed. The morning Oliver was born. And 2 weeks ago, the night Michael came home wearing another woman's perfume. "Mom, are you okay?" Amy snapped back to reality and looked at Oliver sitting in the passenger seat. With eyes deeper than you'd expect from an 8-year-old, Oliver gazed at his mother with concern. The evening sun streaming through the car window tinted his chestnut hair gold. People often said he had facial features resembling Michael, but his kindness of heart took after Amy. "I'm fine, Oliver. Just thinking about something." Amy smiled at her son, though she knew her smile looked strained. Michael Williams. As a manager at an IT consulting firm earning a 6-figure salary, he had bought a spacious house for the family, took them camping on holidays, and seemed like the ideal husband and father. "I don't love you anymore, Amy." 2 weeks ago, Michael had said those words. As if ending their 10-year marriage with a single sentence. He said he had fallen in love with a new woman at his company. "Young and ambitious, and in his words, a woman who doesn't bore me." Amy had worked at an accounting firm but switched to part-time after Oliver was born. For the family. For Michael. As a result, her career had stagnated, and her world had gradually narrowed. The divorce mediation was a nightmare. Michael hired an expensive lawyer, cleverly hid assets, and succeeded in minimizing the child support he should pay to Amy and Oliver. Since the house was in his name, Amy and Oliver had no choice but to leave. After staying at a cheap motel for a week with their limited savings, Amy had to face reality. They would soon be homeless at this rate. Her part-time salary from the accounting firm wasn't even enough for a security deposit on an apartment. The only option was to turn to her mother. Amy's mother, Carol, had retired 2 years ago from her job as an elementary school teacher. She was known in the community as a strict but fair teacher. While feared but respected by her students, she showed a different face at home. Since Amy's father passed away 10 years ago, Carol had showered Amy's sister Lisa with special affection. Lisa had won a local beauty pageant and married real estate broker Greg Thompson right after college. Lisa lived as a homemaker, supporting Greg's glamorous social life. "Lisa takes after me," Carol would often say. This was also an implicit criticism that Amy took after her father. The relationship between Amy and Lisa was complicated. They pretended to be close sisters on the surface, but because of Carol's discriminatory affection, there was always tension between them. After marriage, Amy had tried to live as far away from her parents' home as possible. Oliver took a book out of his backpack and began to read. His calm demeanor made Amy's heart ache. An 8-year-old child shouldn't have to be so brave in a situation like this. He was already too grown up. "We'll be at Grandma's house soon," Amy said. "I need to tell her that we're having some trouble." Oliver looked up from his book and nodded quietly. "Won't Dad help us?" That question felt like a needle in Amy's heart. "Dad is having a hard time with his own problems right now," she said. She had no intention of telling her son that Michael had gone on a luxury vacation with his new girlfriend. Michael's social media showed photos from a beach in Hawaii. Amy took a deep breath and picked up her cell phone. She stared at the screen for a while, gathering courage to call her mother. This wasn't the first time she had asked Carol for help. And from past experience, she knew it wouldn't be an easy conversation. But for Oliver, she was prepared to do anything. Amy parked the car at a rest stop and took a deep breath. Oliver was asleep in the passenger seat. Curled up with his backpack as a pillow, the sight broke her heart. No child should be in this situation. She took out her smartphone and dialed her mother's number. After 3 rings, she heard Carol's voice. "Hello, Amy. This is a surprise." Carol's voice had its usual coldness. Amy tried to sound cheerful. "I called because I need to talk to you about something." "What is it?" "Did you know Lisa is pregnant? Her second child. Greg's work is going well too, and they're buying a new house soon." Carol seemed to be bringing up Lisa's topic to remind Amy of the instability in her own life. "That's wonderful," Amy replied, carefully choosing her words. "Actually, it's about me." "Oh, did something happen? How are Michael and Oliver?" Carol's voice showed obligatory concern rather than genuine worry. Amy hesitated for a moment. "Mom, Michael and we're getting divorced." Silence spread across the phone. "What?" Carol's voice was low and accusatory. "Did you do something again?" Those words brought tears to Amy's eyes. "Michael was cheating. He told me to get out. The house is in his name." "Well, that's unfortunate," Carol showed superficial sympathy. "But marriage requires effort, you know. You always give up too easily." "I didn't give up." Amy's voice rose. "He was with another woman." She swallowed her words. She couldn't forget the purpose of this conversation. "Mom, I have a favor to ask." "A favor?" Carol's voice was filled with caution. "Could Oliver and I stay at your house for a while?" Amy said all at once. "Just until I can find a new job and rent an apartment. We won't be a burden for long." Silence fell again. Amy could feel her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. "Well, that's difficult," Carol finally spoke. "Your sister and her baby are moving in. There's no room for you." "But what about the basement or?" Amy persisted. "You need to solve this yourself." Carol's voice was cold. "You're a grown woman. You can't depend on others forever." Amy clutched the phone in disbelief. "But think about Oliver. Oliver is always welcome. If you're having trouble with childcare, I can take care of him." Those words sent a chill down Amy's spine. "Are you trying to separate Oliver from me?" "I'm not saying that," Carol said defensively. "I'm just offering a practical solution. Oliver is my son." Amy's voice trembled. "We stay together." "Well, if that's what you want," Carol sighed. "But if you refuse my offer, you'll have to manage on your own." Hot tears rolled down Amy's cheeks. "I understand," her voice was barely audible. "Thank you, Mom. Goodbye." She ended the call and rested her forehead on the steering wheel, starting to cry quietly. Years of pent-up emotions were now flowing out like a broken dam. "Mom?" At Oliver's small voice, Amy hurriedly wiped away her tears. "I'm sorry, did I wake you up? Are we going to Grandma's house?" Oliver looked at Amy with innocent eyes. Amy took a deep breath, trying to be a strong mother. "No, honey. We'll be sleeping somewhere else tonight." Oliver was silent for a while. "Grandma won't help us?" The simplicity and sharpness of that question pained Amy's heart. She didn't want to lie to her son. "Grandma seems to have her hands full right now." Oliver stared at Amy, and then suddenly grabbed her hand with his small one. "It's okay, Mom. Let's do our best together." Those words made Amy feel tears welling up again. An 8-year-old child shouldn't have to be this strong. But she was saved by Oliver's courage. "Yes," she smiled at her son. "We'll be fine." Amy started the engine and left the parking lot. She hadn't decided where to go, but knew they would have to spend the night in the car. They parked the car in a quiet parking lot at the edge of town. Amy made a makeshift bed for Oliver in the back seat. She used clothes from his backpack as a pillow and covered him with a blanket they had in the car. "Is it safe here?" Oliver looked anxiously out the window. "It's fine," Amy answered brightly. "I'm with you." "It's like camping, isn't it?" Oliver nodded slightly, but couldn't hide the anxiety on his face. "Does Dad know where we are?" Amy caught her breath. "No, not right now. But I'll contact Dad tomorrow." She said this, but she doubted Michael would care about their situation. Oliver took a small origami crane from his pocket. "Dad made this for me. He said it brings happiness." Amy felt a pang in her heart. Michael hadn't been a bad father. He just failed as a husband, and now as an ex-husband. "That's very nice," she said gently. "Now, it's time to sleep. Tomorrow is the start of a new day." Oliver obediently lay down, and Amy kissed his forehead. "Good night, my brave prince." "Good night, Mom," Oliver answered with a yawn. "Tomorrow will be better." After her son fell asleep, Amy sat in the driver's seat, staring outside. The trees in the park illuminated by the dim streetlights. The sound of cars in the distance. And the anxiety and fear spreading in her heart. But remembering her son's words, Amy resolved to be strong. A week passed. Amy and Oliver had found a kind of routine in their car life. In the mornings, they got ready at public shower facilities. During the day, Oliver spent time at the library while Amy looked for work. At night, they returned to the parking lot and slept in the cramped car. It was far from an ideal life, but the two were gradually adapting. "Mom, look!" Oliver shouted in an excited voice. Amy looked up from the bench and saw her son picking something up in the park square. Spring sunlight poured down around them, and the trees were adorned with fresh green leaves. However, the weather was starting to look ominous. "What did you find?" Amy asked with a smile. Oliver proudly held up a 4-leaf clover. "It's a lucky clover. My teacher said the chance of finding one is 1 in a million." Amy felt her heart warm at her son's pure joy. Oliver's ability to find hope in any situation had become her support. "That's wonderful," she praised her son's discovery. "Let's keep it safe." "Yes." Oliver carefully placed the small plant between the pages of his book. "This will bring us good luck." Just then, a sudden thunder shook the air. Amy looked up at the sky and noticed the rapidly approaching black clouds. "Oliver, hurry. Rain is coming." As they began to gather their belongings, the first large raindrops fell. In an instant, it turned into a heavy downpour. Amy spread her jacket over Oliver's head, and they started running toward the car. But it was too late. By the time they reached the car, they were both soaked to their shoes. "I'm sorry, honey," Amy apologized as she wiped her son's wet hair. "The towels are." "It's okay, Mom," Oliver showed a smile despite shivering. "This is part of the adventure. Heroes sometimes get wet in the rain." His positive attitude both moved Amy and made her heart ache. A child shouldn't have to be this strong. But Oliver's courage supported her. "You're right, my hero," she kissed his wet cheek. "But we can't have you catching a cold. Come on, let's change into dry clothes." After changing in the car, the two sat listening to the rain. Amy checked her phone and sighed. Again, no contact about job interviews. Her resume was excellent, but the gap in her career and having no fixed address probably made employers uneasy. "Are you hungry?" Amy asked. Oliver nodded slightly. Amy counted the remaining cash. $30 left. This had to be planned carefully to last until the weekend. Let's have sandwiches, she suggested cheerfully. Or maybe. Suddenly, there was a knock on the car window. Amy turned around in surprise. Outside the window stood a middle-aged woman holding an elegant black umbrella. Wrapped in a luxurious coat, she exuded a sophisticated aura. Amy cautiously lowered the window slightly. "Excuse me, are you two all right?" The woman's voice was warm and concerned. "Yes, thank you," Amy answered warily. "Would you like to go to a cafe in this rain? My car is parked nearby." Amy hesitated. She couldn't easily trust a stranger. But the woman's eyes held genuine kindness. "Thank you, but we're fine. For your child's sake, I think it would be better to have a meal in a warm place," the woman smiled at Oliver. "My name is Victoria Grant. I have an office right near this park." Amy's eyes widened at that name. Victoria Grant. A successful local businesswoman. Her investment company was nationally known. "Ms. Grant, of the investment company?" Victoria smiled gently. "Yes. I'm honored you know me. I'm Amy Williams. This is my son Oliver." "Nice to meet you," Victoria waved at the boy. "There's a nice cafe nearby. Let's go in my car." Amy was still hesitant, but thinking of Oliver, the temptation of a warm meal and a dry place was great. "Thank you. We'll take you up on your offer." At the cafe, the three sat at a table and ordered warm drinks and sandwiches. Oliver cupped his hot chocolate with both hands, a happy expression on his face. "So, Amy," Victoria asked gently. "If you don't mind, could you tell me about your situation?" Normally, Amy wouldn't discuss private matters with a stranger. But there was something about Victoria that made it easy to talk. She briefly explained her divorce, financial difficulties, and living in the car. Victoria listened quietly, occasionally nodding. "That must have been difficult," she said. "I admire your strength." "I'm not strong," Amy said softly. "I just have to keep going for Oliver." "That is strength," Victoria asserted. "When I was young, I had a similar experience. Starting a business while raising a child alone wasn't easy." Amy looked up in surprise. She had never imagined that the successful Victoria had once been in a situation similar to hers. Oliver suddenly spoke up. "I'm really proud of Mom. She always tries to smile and works hard no matter how difficult things are." Those words brought tears to Amy's eyes. Victoria looked at Oliver kindly. "You have a wonderful son," she turned back to Amy. "If I may ask, what is your profession?" "I'm an accountant," Amy answered. "But I've been working part-time since Oliver was born." Victoria's eyes lit up. "That's wonderful. Actually, my company is looking for a financial analyst. Would you be interested?" Amy was speechless. But Your experience and knowledge are valuable," Victoria said. "Of course, I'll interview you. No special treatment. I just want to offer you an opportunity." That evening, Amy and Oliver moved into temporary housing for employees owned by Victoria's company. It was a small apartment, but clean and private. Above all, they had their own beds and a roof over their heads. A week later, Amy was hired as a financial analyst at Victoria Grant Investment Company. Her sharp intuition for numbers and analytical skills quickly caught Victoria's eye. 3 months passed, and Amy was now entrusted with important projects at the company. She worked late into the night and spent weekends poring over materials. Oliver watched her efforts, sometimes placing a blanket over his mother when she fell asleep. "Amy, your ideas are brilliant," Victoria said in the conference room one day. Her proposal for a new online financial service plan showed a new direction for the company. "Thank you," Amy smiled. "Why don't you launch this as an independent business?" Victoria suggested. "I'll invest." At those words, Amy's heart raced. Her own business. A possibility she had never dreamed of was now unfolding before her. "Really? Your talent is too precious to be buried," Victoria said. "I know you can do it." That night, while hugging Oliver, Amy told him about their future. "A new adventure is beginning." "Yes," he said with shining eyes. "Mom can do anything." A year later, Amy's online financial service, Future Finance, was a huge success. She was featured on the cover of a business magazine with the headline, "From Single Mother to Millionaire." On the day they moved into their new home, Amy and Oliver stood at the entrance, looking at the spacious garden and beautiful house. "Mom, our lucky clover worked," Oliver said. Amy smiled, stroking her son's hair. "We did have luck. But more importantly, we never gave up." She looked up at the sky. She wondered what would have happened to their lives if she hadn't met Victoria in the park on that rainy day. Fate is a strange thing. "Amy, urgent call." Her secretary Janet knocked on the conference room door. Amy was in the middle of an important meeting with investors. She frowned. The instructions had been clear. No calls unless it was an emergency. "Excuse me," Amy stood up and gracefully exited the room. "Who is it from?" "Your mother," she says. "She seems very upset." Amy hesitated for a moment. There had been no contact from Carol for nearly 2 years. After the news of her success was featured in local media, Carol sent a brief congratulatory message. Since then, silence. Understood, Amy took a deep breath and headed to her office. "Hello, Mom." "Amy." Carol's voice was trembling. The former strength was gone, replaced by fear and impatience. "Please come quickly. Please." "What happened?" Amy asked calmly. "I'll explain later, just hurry," Carol said in a voice about to cry. "Come to the house." Amy was conflicted inside. 2 years ago, when she needed help the most, her mother had coldly rejected her. That pain still remained in her heart. However, she couldn't help but feel sympathy for the desperation in Carol's voice. "All right," she finally said. "I'll be there by this afternoon." Thank you so much." After ending the call, Amy stared out the window for a while. Success had brought her many things. Financial independence, confidence, and above all, the ability to provide Oliver with a stable environment. But the wounds of the past hadn't completely healed. Later that afternoon, Amy parked her luxury car in front of her mother's house. Oliver was busy with a special school project, so she was visiting alone this time. With a mixture of nostalgia and anxiety, she knocked on the door. The woman who opened the door was not the Carol she knew before. Instead of the confident, strict mother, a tired and aged woman stood there. "Amy," Carol said in a trembling voice. "What's wrong? What happened?" Amy asked as she entered the house. In the living room sat Lisa, who appeared to be pregnant. She too had a haggard expression. It had been 3 years since Amy had seen her sister. "Sis," Lisa said in a small voice. "Can someone explain?" Amy tried to maintain her composure as she sat down. Carol and Lisa exchanged glances, and then Carol began to speak. "Greg is gone. Gone. He disappeared," leaving behind debt. Carol's voice was bitter. And he created debt in my name. Amy gasped. What do you mean? Greg approached me with an investment opportunity. Carol held her head. He said it was a sure profit. For my retirement funds, I took out a loan with the house as collateral. I signed the papers. And? It was all fraud, Lisa interrupted. Greg took the money and disappeared to Las Vegas. This photo was sent to us. Lisa held out her smartphone. There was a picture of Greg raising a champagne glass in a casino. I've lost everything, Amy, Carol broke down in tears. The house, my savings. Only debt remains. But why come to me? Amy asked. Before, when I asked for help. I was wrong then, Carol admitted tearfully. Not helping you, not helping Oliver, maybe I'm now receiving my punishment. Amy was hit with complex emotions. Vindictive joy mixed with sympathy for her mother. So what do you want? I need your help, Carol looked straight into Amy's eyes. I'm sorry about before. Please, help us. Lisa added pleadingly, Sis, I'm about to give birth. We have nowhere to live. Amy looked out the window. Inside her, the pain of the past and the sense of current responsibility were at odds. She remembered the suffering when her mother rejected her. But at the same time, she didn't want to become as cold. All right, Amy finally said. But there are conditions. Carol and Lisa leaned forward, as if seeing a ray of hope. Conditions? First, my support is temporary. You'll need to find a path to independence, Amy said calmly. Carol, you'll do volunteer work in the community. Your teaching experience is needed. Carol nodded silently. Lisa, after giving birth, you'll learn business skills. I'll arrange an internship at my company. But the baby? Lisa protested. I'll also arrange childcare, Amy said. This isn't to spoil you, but to help you become independent. After exchanging glances, the two women agreed. And finally, Amy stood up. Never let Oliver know that you rejected us in the past. I don't want to break the family bond in his heart. I promise, Carol said tearfully. Amy headed for the door. My lawyer will visit you both tomorrow. To work out the details. Before she got into her car, Carol came after her. Amy, she said in a trembling voice. Why are you helping us? I didn't help you. Amy looked at her mother and smiled. Because I'm not you. As she drove away, Amy had no doubts about her choice. 6 months later, Amy quietly observed her family around the breakfast table on a weekend morning. Oliver was asking Carol for help with his homework, and Lisa was feeding her baby daughter Alicia. The spacious Victorian-style house Amy had purchased had plenty of rooms, including independent living spaces for Carol and Lisa. My music recital is coming up soon, Oliver said happily. Will you come? Of course, I wouldn't miss my precious grandson's recital for anything, Carol answered gently. Those words spread warmth in Amy's chest. The once cold mother now showed genuine grandmother's love toward Oliver. Lisa had completed a barista course and started working at the cafe in Amy's company. She too was beginning to change. Carol volunteered for an after-school program at a local school, teaching children. Amy, after my volunteer work today, I'm going to organize some papers. Can I take Oliver to a movie? Carol asked. If Oliver wants to go, Amy answered. She still didn't completely trust her mother, but was working on gradually repairing their relationship. After breakfast, while cleaning up the kitchen, news came from the television. A man arrested for fraud in Las Vegas has been found guilty. The suspect, Greg Thompson, was involved in multiple fraud cases. Lisa stopped what she was doing and stared at the screen. There was Greg, handcuffed. She let out a deep sigh, but her expression showed relief rather than sadness. "It's over," she said quietly. "A new beginning." Amy placed her hand on her sister's shoulder. In the afternoon, Amy was having a meeting with Victoria at her office. Her company, Future Finance, had grown rapidly and now employed hundreds of people. "Setting up the new foundation is a wonderful idea," Victoria said. "I'll fully support the program to help single mothers." "I wouldn't be here without your help," Amy smiled at her mentor. "I want to give the same chance to others." The Amy Williams Foundation, Victoria pronounced the name. "It has a nice ring to it." On her way home, Amy received a call in the car. It was from Michael. "Amy, can we talk for a bit?" His voice didn't have the same confidence as before. "I want to see Oliver." "He wants to see you too," Amy answered calmly. While her relationship with Michael was complicated, she understood the importance of maintaining the father-son relationship for Oliver's sake. "I heard about your success," Michael said. "You've accomplished something amazing." "Thank you," Amy answered simply. His praise no longer meant anything to her. When she returned home, Oliver greeted her at the door. "Mom, look. My essay won the contest." Amy read her son's essay. Titled, "My Hero," it was a story about his mother. His love and pride for a mother who never gave up in difficult situations were expressed in honest words. "Oliver." Tears welled up in Amy's eyes. "Don't cry," Oliver said with a serious face. "When I grow up, I want to do work that helps people, like you do, Mom. I want to be someone who doesn't ignore people in need." Amy hugged her son tightly. All the hardships, all the pain, and all the joy. They all connected to this moment. That night, Amy sat on the terrace, looking up at the starry sky. Life is unpredictable. 2 years ago, she was at a loss, living in a car with her son. Now, she was in a position of success, helping her family, and reaching out to others. Carol sat next to her. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." Amy looked at her mother and smiled. "We're family," she answered simply. "It's in difficulties that we learn the true meaning of family." Under the starry sky, Amy took a deep breath. The pain of the past might never completely disappear. But she had learned. Strength isn't just about enduring, but overcoming difficulties, growing, and above all, having the courage to forgive.